Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about your book, Nigger for Life.
Nigger for Life is a reflection of my experiences in the United States with coming to grips that despite your accomplishments as a black person, that you are first judged by the color of your skin, and that your accomplishments are thus diminished as a result of that. So I am formally trained as an eye surgeon, but no matter where I go, no matter what I do, I'm first seen and judged and treated like a black man in America, in America's eyes. So for instance, if I go into the surgical suite to start a case, or to, when I'm coming out, say, to end a case, there have been times when I've been pulled aside and told to go and mop OR number 3. And the sense is that any black man in surgical scrubs in the operating room is an orderly or a janitor until proven otherwise.
Wow.
So those kinds of experiences, coming to grip with that after this long road of education, where the thinking was that through education, things can change. What I realize is that the more things change, the more they make things stay the same.
And one would have thought with the election of the first black president in America, Barack Obama, that would have changed the dynamics. He's managed to ascend to the highest office in the land, but according to your book, it hasn't.
I don't know why people would even come to that understanding or belief at all. It's about economics. And until blacks or any other oppressed group have their equal opportunity to economics and economic equality, only then will you begin to see those kinds of changes. And as you can well see, despite President Obama doing his very best, you can still see all the roadblocks that are put into his place and in front of him. So I think this is a false sense of advancement. In many cases, in some of the circles in the United States, some feel that racism has even tightened up even more to say, hey, even though you have a black president, know your place.
So what inspired you to write this book, and how long did it take?
I had just finished my specialty training in eye surgery from Harvard University, and I went out and tried to set up a practice. I always wanted to set up my own practice. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I think it's important that you have your own self-sustaining economic infrastructure, which was the problem, eventually the problem. But I set out to set up my practice. I found a couple sites, and one of the sites, the seller of the building said to me that he had a obligation to the community not to sell to me. Now this was predominantly a white area that I was buying the building, and that was just shocking to me. Another said, without even checking my financial statements and wherewithal, that they didn't think they could sell because they didn't think I had the ability to pay. Well, why would they say that? Okay, and the thing that came to mind was my skin color, which brought those kinds of feelings to bear. And so I started experiencing these kinds of things, trying to get on staff at the hospitals where, again, color became an issue. And that was sort of a very, very painful, rude awakening, because I grew up believing much of the miseducation that we get in America with respect to history and things of that nature, and growing up with that lack of our history. And so then we believe in their history. So I believe that, you know, liberty, justice. I believe that Washington never told a lie. I believe that Lincoln freed the slaves. I memorized the Gettysburg Address that Lincoln said so many years ago. And then to wake up to this rude awakening that, no, you're still just a black man.
And you've put together poems So what inspired this style of writing? Why write poems and put them together in a book?
Yes. About 3 years of writing before I then said this could be a book. So it didn't start out to be a book. It's just poems.
The title of the book, Nigger for Life, why choose to use those particular words as the title of the book?
Because it's the only thing I know. I think, sleep, and eat in verse, and so that's the only thing I know. Well, it's interesting you say to put the words as I have. I put the words as they are, and I think that's the most important thing. I put the words as they are. You cannot, it's inescapable. It's out there. You know, many times I call it unspoken America, where, you know, you don't really say it to your face. It's when you turn your back. So I wanted to, one, put that out there. Two, I wanted to address the issue that for many blacks in America, they feel the fight is over not being called a nigger. And calling one a nigger has never limited one's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Only treating you like a nigger. So the fight is really in the treating, not in the calling. So it's in a sense, it says, don't focus so much on what you're being called. The real battle is how we're being treated.
So in the United States, you're dealing with racism. Here in Kenya, we grapple with tribalism. What needs to be done, both societies, both countries, and the world at large, to root out these vices?
Well, I think the one thing that we need to understand is that our differences are our strengths. And we've been taught that our differences are things that we can use to exploit, to get an upper hand over our fellow man with respect to social and economic gains. I think a thing that we have to do is to understand how we are connected, even through our differences, how we are connected. And until we do that, we'll never get there. Right. We'll never get there.
And then you're in the country, you attended the Hay Festival over the weekend. How was that? And you were speaking as well. Maybe you can tell us about that experience.
I spoke at a couple of sessions. One, I ran a master workshop on the construction of poetry, which is very good. I loved it immensely. I had about 30, 40 Kenyans come in, and it was absolutely glorious, the experience. I just loved it. I loved it. The other, I did a featured reading, and I was on a panel with some very distinguished writers talking about Black male identity.
And finally, where can one get your book? And also, why should they get it?
Well, you can get the book at my website. That's the only place you can get it, and that's at surgeonpoet.com. I think why you should get it is, I think it's not just my story, but it's our story. It's the story of what one man, any man, can do and will do against another man to have an upper hand with respect to social economic gains. And I think if you can read through my pain and touch that, I'm hoping that at least you begin, or we can begin, to rethink what we're doing and how we're doing it, and the fact that we need to reconnect.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us. Neil Hall, your book, Nigger for Life. Asante sana.
Thank you.